In a world where trends come and go, some interior designers stand apart because their work is timeless and rooted in culture. One such name is Adil Ahmad. Hello everyone and welcome to the Now in Times Talk from the Heart. Our guest today is Adil Ahmad, interior designer, and he does much more. Hello Adil, welcome to our show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me and look forward to chatting.
Lovely. Adil, from royal residences to private retreats, you have designed everything from and in between. Tell me, how is your style? Because your style tells a lot of stories. How would you describe the style of yours?
I mean, my style is something which is rooted in the past, but very much forward looking and thinking. So I call my style contemporary colonial style, which is, inspired by the homes which we grew up in our youth, which were colonial homes, which were Indo-Saracenic homes. And then we brought it into the contemporary milieu. And now today people have begun to call my style little maximalist or very layered. So, I mean, they're just different names, but I think basically what inspires or what encourages me to take a particular style in a home is the bone structure of the home I take on, or the wishes and sensibility of my clients. So that is why I don't like to leave my stamp on a home. I like to bring out the intrinsic style of the home or the people who I'm designing for.
Right. You have been designing for so many years. Let us go back a little bit to the beginning of your journey. Can you remember that moment when you realized, this is what I want to do? I am so attracted to style, to design. Can you remember that?
Actually, it wasn't some eureka moment in my life. It's just something which happened very organically. It's something which I remember back in the day when I used to be studying at the Doom School and I'd be going back to school. There used to be those Wheeler bookshops and they used to have old interiors magazines. I would buy those interiors magazines, and then no one had even heard of interior designing as a profession. But I always knew that I wanted to be doing something or in the creative field or doing something with design, and it happened very organically, and that's what led me to drop out of school, because my first paid project that I did was when I was 16 in 1993. So I dropped out of school and started doing interior designing and never looked back, but it was never a profession. It just started as a natural culmination of my interests. So it's always just been for me, it's been my hobby, which has become my profession now.
Absolutely. And you just mentioned about school and leaving school. I think you were in the ninth standard when that happened.
Yes,
at that moment when you were
13.
When you decided, that moment when you decided that, what, I don't want to continue with school. What did you have in mind? Where did you think you were going, your life was going, or did you know exactly at that time and said, this is what I want to do?
When at that age, you don't know where life is going to take you. You just follow your instinct, and you have a dream, and you have, you're very bold at that age, and you just take that plunge or that leap of faith. And then you leave it. You leave it all in God's hands or the universe's hands, and somehow you land on your feet, which I did. But it's a lot. It's a lot of hard work, and as I said, it's a leap of faith. And if you're true to yourself and true to your vocation, I feel the rest falls into place.
You just spoke about your first. You said you were about 14 or 15 when you undertook your first project. Tell us a little bit about it.
It was for a very close family friend of ours. They had this beautiful old Art Deco Heinz house, and she was wanting to totally redo it, and it was her in-laws' home, and when she came into it, she wanted it to look fresh and contemporary, or freshen it up. And she came to me, and I remember my mother telling her that they're very good family friends. My mother telling her, "Don't be silly. How can you give your whole house to him to do? Let him do a little corner of it or something." And she said, "No, I have faith in what he'll do, and he will do it, and he'll do a great job." And she gave it to me, and we did a complete turnaround of the house in like, I remember, I think 3 months. So it was very encouraging that someone is trusting you with their home, and then one thing leads to another, and you never look back.
Right. Other storytelling seems to be a very major part of the work that you do. So how do you weave stories into your design, into your work? How do you go about doing that?
Again, I'll be honest. I think people think that there's a lot of storytelling or there's a lot of thought that's gone into it. But for me, 30 years down the line, I look at it as something which happens very organically, or something which just happens very naturally. I mean, when I visit a project, or I visit or meet the clients for the first time, it's a sort of vision which comes to me, or like an epiphany, you can say. And then you just try to carry that out on the ground. But it's not some great vision. I mean, it's not some great story, or some great a great picture which one is trying to create. It just happens very naturally, I think, to me, with me.
Right. But your work, but it's very striking. There is so much to look at. I mean, the few pictures that I have seen of your work, it's your eye moves just
So
about
that
everywhere.
I feel, yes. I always say about my work that you can love it or hate it, but you can't ignore it, because
Absolutely.
I do have a strong viewpoint, and that, I think, is I personally feel is my could be my forte, or my drawback is that I'm not driven by the world or by the herd. I follow my instinct, and I take the chance. And I mean, if you've come to me and you want my vision, or you want my take on it, then you take it. Otherwise, don't come to me, because my style is bold, or it has a viewpoint.
Right. I think it's more than bold because and like I said, it's so striking, and it's hard to put it into words as to how would you describe that. To my next question, are there any artisans, crafts, or regional styles that you find yourself going back to again and again?
I mean, today everything has become very cliched. So all this made in India, and back to India, and all that is all there. But I've always worked with indigenous materials. I have never encouraged or bought or used Italian marbles. I have never been to Maison or to Frieze or these fairs that happen abroad, because I feel we have such a vibrant culture of our own, and such amazing craftsmen, and such amazing artisans in India, that you don't need to go abroad. I mean, the carpet weaving industry, the Pietra Dura industry, the you name it, we have it. I mean, the textiles, the brocades. I mean, I don't know. I sometimes wonder why people want to go abroad and aimlessly follow these Western trends, when we have such amazing culture and amazing products in India. I mean, it defies. I mean, my intelligence, why people would want to go abroad.
When you walk into a space, what, as a designer, what is the first thing that catches your eye?
Because it's about oneself, I can't really say. But I'm very particular about symmetry. So if a room is not perfectly symmetrical, the first thing that comes to my mind is how I can set it right by making it symmetrical. So symmetry is something very important to my style and my interiors. And once I get the symmetry right, then I know I'm on the right path, and I mean, half 2/3 of the job is done.
Okay. So,
So I'd say symmetry. I'd say
so,
symmetry.
besides symmetry, what else? What is your process of making that space that you've been given come alive? Your design. How do you go about it from that first spark of inspiration? And you say symmetry. Then what?
You know, what I try to do is I try to first assimilate what's in the room. And if the clients have some intrinsic piece that they want to use, or I find some heirloom piece that they have, I try to work around that. Very often, what I do, like when I'm starting an interior from scratch, I do like to get a beautiful carpet or a chandelier, and I try to work my way around that piece. But it's like, as I said, it's a very organic process. It's not something that you go that I will start around this or whatever. It just, the project of the space. Every project has its own unique sensibility or unique advantages and disadvantages, and you work around those. So it's no. I mean, trust me, there's no great formula to it, or there's no great mind that goes into it. It's just you move with the job, kind of.
When you're working on heritage properties, is there
Yeah.
anything different that the way you approach it, the way you do it, from a regular space that you are working on?
Yes, certainly, because you're very sensitive to the style and the period in which that project was conceived and completed. You want to, and I personally do not want anyone to enter that space and see or think that it's been done by Adil Ahmad. I want them to understand or see the intrinsic beauty of that project and the period in which it was conceived. And I like, when I'm working with heritage properties, I look at them that we are just custodians of their culture that they embody. So it's not my vision which should come out, but the vision with which that particular space was created. So I consider those or treat those more as restoration projects vis-a-vis interiors projects, because I feel it's not my place to try to turn around something which has stood the test of time for say 100 years or 150 years. So I mean, I can't come about and just wipe it all out and try to create a new palette over there. So I try my best to, as far as possible and as sensitively as possible, recreate the the beauty and the grandeur of that space at the time it was perceived.
In the past years that you have been designing, what has been one of the most challenging projects that you have undertaken?
Very honestly, every project has its own unique challenges and advantages and disadvantages.
Sure.
This is a question which is invariably asked to me, or I guess it's asked to all professionals vis-a-vis their work. But I wouldn't single out any particular project, because every project, be it 2,000 square feet or even 1,000 square feet to a 2 lakh square feet project, has its own unique challenges. And trust me, sometimes, like the studio of mine where I'm sitting just now, is 900 square feet. But every last inch of space, the way I designed it and when I put it together, I put just as much effort or time into it as I would have put into a 30 square feet house or 40 square feet house. So I feel every home, every project has its own joys, its own tribulations, and when it's done, it gives you immense pleasure, and then you move on. So, there's no particular project which I can name, or, or put either or ahead of the other.
Right. We are in conversation with Adil Ahmad. It's time for a short break. Don't go anywhere, because Adil has so much more to tell us. Hello and welcome to the Now in Times Talk from the Heart. We are in conversation with Adil Ahmad, interior designer, and he has been telling us about his work, about his journey. Adil, you have told us about the process and you said how organic it is. But sometimes with all artists, which you are, there is there comes a time where you have a creative block. Has that happened with you? And also, how do you navigate clients if they come with their idea, their sensibility about what they want with their space, and your ideas don't match? What do you do?
Mercifully for me, the creative block hasn't come or struck as yet, because as I said, for me it doesn't feel like work. For me, I treat it as a journey on my hobby of design. So luckily or mercifully, in these last 31 years or 32 years that I've been doing this, it hasn't struck as yet. God forbid, I don't know when it will happen, but it hasn't struck me the creative block as yet. And as for clients, yes, they're notoriously, difficult clients sometimes. But you just have to. I mean, earlier I used to get very het up by it, or it used to affect my designing to a large extent. But over the last few years, I've learned to just detach myself from the moment. So, when they're being difficult, or when they can't make up their mind, or when they can't sort of commit to something, I just give them space. I feel if you give people space and you revisit the problem a day or two later when everyone's uh, perhaps tempers are cooler or mind is more freer or open, uh, it turns around. If you go at the problem at the time of the problem, I think it just causes a lot of confusion. So I've learned to be patient. I've learned to coax and cajole the client and bring them to the point where they don't feel they're being, sort of literally talked down to, and it worked. It's worked over the years, and by God's grace, no project has really gone downhill as such till now. And so and again, every project, every unique sensibility, and you have to learn to deal with it or work with it, as best as you can.
Right. Tell me, Adil, is there any a myth that people have about interior design, and something that often comes up which you need to correct?
Sometimes clients, when they engage you, feel that you may be trying to totally take over their lives or take over the design process or the project, hijack it of sorts or whatever. And you have to let them believe that if they let you do what you have in mind, they will get the best out of you and they will get that bang for the buck. So like I said, so you have to reach a place of comfort with the client. Because see, when you're doing something as personal as their home, it's almost like getting into a relationship with them for that period of time. So you have to learn to let them trust you and you trust them, and do the best by them so that they know that you're there for them. So it's that the first few months or the first few meetings, I feel, are what really make or break the the style and tenor of how you're going to deal with that project for the period that you're engaged with them.
Right. Tell me, when you are designing for an international audience, how important is the cultural context in your work?
Yes, when you're designing for an international audience, I believe that you can't create a pastiche. So if I'm doing something in India, I do something which is, I don't say ethnic, but more Indian. Or when I'm doing something abroad, it's something which is, again, takes in the style, culture, climate of that country, of that space, of the client. So you have to be sensitive to your surroundings, to your client's sensibilities, to their lifestyle, and you design around that. So it's all like, say, if I'm designing for a Indian couple living in London. So yes, I will take a little element from India, but put it into a contemporary medium or a contemporary milieu which works in England. I mean, I cannot create a Rajasthani palace in the English countryside. Then I feel it looks like a pastiche.
Yes.
But if I put a charoka or two, or I put some miniature paintings, or I put a beautiful pitchfai, And in a contemporary room, I think it looks beautiful because it brings a taste of India or a flavor of India into a very European style room.
Adil, how do you see Indian design being received all over the world? And also, according to you, in your opinion, what do you see the future of Indian design?
Oh, that's a tricky question because I feel Indian style, sensibility, and design is very coveted and well received all over the world. I mean, vis-a-vis fashion, you've seen it for years.
Mm-hmm.
Valentino was very inspired by the Indian drape. Chanel has been inspired by the drape of the sari. Schiaparelli she did a whole range around the sari. So fashion-wise, I think India has really inspired the world. Unfortunately, interiors wise, I've not seen much around because sadly, for some reason, interior designers in India want to aimlessly ape the West. I don't know why. So, design wise, interior design wise, or architecturally, there's not been much exposure to the West of Indian style and design vis-a-vis architecture and interiors. But if there was, I'm sure it would be well received. It's a very unique sensibility of its own and style. And that's, I mean, but I mean, that's my take on it, kind of thing. I mean, if you're bold enough to be true to your style or true to your sensibility and take it abroad, why wouldn't it be well received?
Right now, in the space that we are, the trend is the minimalist mindset. Your
Yes,
designs, in fact,
yes.
are on the absolute other end of the spectrum. How did this come about? Like, what influenced you? You know, there's so much of opulence in your design. When you stand amongst what you have designed, you feel you are in a different space entirely. What do you have to say about that?
I could turn the question around and ask you or ask them what brought about that sensibility, the minimalist, as I call Singapore airport look. That where is it? It's an alien sensibility to us. It's an alien. I feel I've been true to my upbringing, true to my sensibilities, true to my. I mean, like Diana Vreeland said, pink is the navy blue of India. But here we've gone black, I don't know why, or grey, which is even more blah, even more. It has no opinion. I mean, there's no viewpoint, there's no opinion. So I'm a person who's proud of my culture, proud of my style, my sensibility, and I'm very sort of proud to bring it out. I mean, what is this grey sensibility that everyone has? Where did they get it from? I want to ask. Or I'm very sometimes intrigued to know what drives them to bring that. For me, my style comes naturally to me. That is me.
Right.
That's my surrounding. That's the colors we were brought up with in India. But I don't know where they've got their style from.
Okay. We all know that your style is very distinct. Now, which is that one design rule that you feel that you always break, and people say, oh, they look at your design and say, oh, this is different. You did it differently from others. So what is that one thing that you feel that
The
you...
one, I'll say the one rule that I always break or never fail to disappoint is that I have no rules. And as I always say, there's nothing known as good taste or bad taste. It's just your own style. So I stick to myself, I'm as to my style, I'm true to myself, and I try my best to coax and cajole what the client want, and I try to interpret it in my own style. So there's no rule. I always tell people there's no rule, there is no fixed formula. Just go with your instinct, go with your own personal viewpoint to take on what you want, and it works out best.
Adil, you have designed your own home. I've seen pictures of it, and it is, I don't know how to describe it. It's just mind-boggling. Tell me, what is that one object in your home that is really very close to you? I know there must be many, there might be hundreds, but that one object that you really connect with in your home.
You know, for me, in my home or my homes, the objects that are dearest to me are photographs. You know, I mean, in our ancestral home in Lucknow, which is our family home, there are loads and loads of black and white photographs. Here in my studio in Delhi, where I also stay, there are loads of photographs over the years of family, of friends, of places, of times which were happy times. And I think photographs, I love photographs.
Right. What about any upcoming projects that you are really excited about?
You know, one project I'm very excited about is which I'm going to be doing in Goa, in Para. It's going to be a show house for my cousins, which we're looking at, which I'm doing. I'm just waiting for the permissions to come through, and then we'll be taking that forward. So I'm really looking forward to that because I haven't really done anything in your neck of the woods. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm doing some very interesting projects up in the hills, and I'm in at Diwali. I'm going to be relaunching my design studio with a new look for the year. So you know, every month there's something fun happening.
I'm sure, I'm sure. And our last question, that's all we have time for, is tell us about your cookbook. It has won awards and it's called Tehzeeb Culinary Traditions of Awadh. Tell us a little about it and tell me how did this cookbook come about, from interiors and design and things like that to cookery, to culinary.
You know, actually, if you see the book, it's actually a book on the culture and cuisine of Awadh. So when Roli Books, my publishers, contacted me about this book, I took it on because I mean I'm no food connoisseur, no authority on food, but they said they wanted a very easy cookbook of not grandiose recipes, but something inspired by a normal Awadhi home. So that was very doable because I'm quite a foodie, as you can see, and by my size. And it was it was again very organic, and it was my mother. It was going to be my mother's 75th birthday, so I thought that would be a great gift to her and a great takeaway for all the people who were coming to Lucknow. So I jumped into it, and we had had a very tight schedule. We had to get the book done in 3 months, and we did it, and it turned out interesting again because unlike regular cookbooks, half the book is just a kind of pictorial essay on Lucknow and the sensibility of our life there vis-a-vis our family pictures. So it's got a very, I mean, when you see the book, you're almost immersed in a family which is
Album?
rooted in in a family album and the culture of a state or of a place in India which is soon fading. So it is a otherworldly culture which you get to experience through the journey of that book.
It sort of takes you back in time, right?
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
sure it does.
Our more it takes you back to a time which was much more genteel, which was much more laid back, which was, today in this mad rush towards modernity, I don't know why we are losing out the subtle nuances and sense and sensitivity which we had in our lives and living in the past. It's just all becoming very fussy, but I don't know. It's losing its. We are losing our culture, I feel, and our sensitivity in this mad rush towards modernity.
And our authenticity. I think we are becoming.
Yes.
We
Yes.
we are changing. We are
Like,
becoming like the trends that come in.
Yeah, we are just becoming like. I mean, we could almost be AI generated caricatures of ourselves. I mean, I don't know. I'm
That's
not. I'm
that's
not. I'm not.
that's
That,
putting
I'm not
it.
part of that trend.
That's putting it, you know, very aptly. And Adil, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure speaking with you, and we look forward to seeing you in Para and look forward to your work. I hope we can come and have a look at it once it's done.
Certainly, certainly, my fingers are crossed. Our permissions come through, and I can't wait to get to Goa now.
Right. Thank you so much. And to our audience, thank you for your time, for your patience and attention. And until next time, take care.